Hello, so I went to see Supergirl, marking the second adventure in James Gunn's wild new direction for the roster of DC characters that he now has at his disposal. Supergirl as a character has had a few live action appearances since her comic debut in 1959, notably the original played by Helen Slater and Melissa Benoist in the CW show. I know I'm probably pronouncing that second name wrong, but I forgot to search up how to do it prior to this video. I didn't have any predetermined needs for this film. I haven't seen any previous movies or the TV show. I haven't even picked up one of the comic books, so I'm sorry to all of the comic elite out there that I'll be coming from this purely from a movie perspective. You know, call it blasphemous that I would treat a movie this way, but apparently that seems to be an increasingly unpopular way of doing things. I liked Supergirl. I'm just going to be upfront with that before we go any further. I think the hatred I'm seeing online for Supergirl is frequently misguided and often placed in a realm that there's just no need to go to when trying to mount a serious opinion. I'm going to lay some ground rules here for do's and don'ts on writing a review for Supergirl, but for reference, if your review pays any attention to the looks of Millie Alcock, a woman who would likely make these online losers collapse if she even glanced in their direction, I will disregard anything you say. If one of your main criticisms is that she's a woman, a topic that we still somehow go over in the Big 26 of all years, I'm going to put you at the bottom of the pile and I will disregard anything you go on to say. And to be fair, because you know there are polar opposites, if the main bulk of your positivity is just arguing against those points and calling them wrong without giving any basics as to why the movie is good, I will also disregard anything you say. Besides, those things you're arguing about are null points anyway and don't even deserve your words. Put them towards something more worthwhile, like talking about the positives of this movie, because there are positives. The truth of the matter is a really simple one, and that Supergirl is a flawed, yet fun and even pretty enjoyable movie. At its worst, it features action sequences shot like an MCU film, which is meant in a derogatory sense, and at its best, it's a reckoning for the character of Kara Zor-El, who finds herself on a journey that will allow her to realise her potential. It's a cookie cutter concept for sure, but that cookie still tastes good. One thing I would say is that I think this film commits to feeling a little too dependent on the success of things like Guardians of the Galaxy at times. There are several moments here where it feels as though it's a little scared to be its own thing, and I wish it had taken a little more individuality into that. To be honest, the negativity this thing has garnered since its release is something I'm lost on, and while there are definitely the losers out there that will peddle their right-wing agendas on this movie like there's no tomorrow, it still baffles me. Word of mouth has already proved itself to be a pretty strong assistance in the success or the failure of a movie this year, but it sucks to see that something like Supergirl is on the wrong end of that, because if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me truthfully if I think it deserves this, I don't. Straight up, this isn't the flop it's being portrayed as online. This isn't the failure of an outing that the reviews would have you believe. In fact, when you filter out any review of the film that doesn't contain any of my previously listed no-no points, the biggest crime this film seems to commit for people is being uninteresting. Now, that definitely is a flaw where there's room for improvement, but for me, that isn't really something that warrants the hate train it seems to be receiving. Once more, we do know why a lot of people will be hating on this film from the off, but we're not going to launch this review into that sort of territory. We're staying on film, because we're one of the people that want to review the film. As a first look for me at Kara Zor-El, obviously excluding the appearance at the end of Superman, which I still love even if the world seems to be turning against it, this was thoroughly enjoyable, and if you in the comments decide to chime in with,
"Hey man, just to let you know, this movie actually sucks and it's the worst adaptation of Supergirl ever, so die,"
then just know you've made my day, because if it only gets better after what I see as a good performance and character debut, then I'm only in for a fun dive. I liked this movie, and I have problems with this movie. I enjoy the scenes we get where Kara and Ruthie are fleshed out and shown to have depth, and I dislike the fact that there could have been so much more of that. Looking back through Craig Gillespie's other work, he clearly excels with characters and studying them, and I can't help but feel like there's some iteration of this Supergirl movie that does that vision justice that was lost on the cutting room floor. I also really like the decision to show Kara as unafraid to make a tough call when killing the villain at the end. I get that it's a comic change and that always upsets them because we can never do anything different, but I like that for this Kara. I think it definitely works in tandem with the words spoken to her by her mother in flashback sequences, and I'm damn sure that I enjoy this being the foil to what someone like Clark would do in a similar situation. At one point, Kara mentions that Clark only sees the good in people whereas she sees the truth, and I think there's a fun and really interesting dynamic in that difference in worldview, and Kara's decision in the end only further solidifies the difference in their heroism. I don't care if you want your heroes to have a no kill count, I don't care if your hero didn't kill this character in the comics. I watched this movie, I know what that character and his people were doing with innocent girls, and I am glad to see him killed. However, I then don't like that moment being cut off by a comedic line read from Lobo. Now, I liked Lobo in this film. I think Jason Momoa was fun as this character, and it always enhances a performance when you can tell an actor is loving the role. However, at points he slightly overstays his welcome, and this was definitely one of those times. This is more of a nitpick, it's not a complete movie ruining moment, I would say it's more of a mood killer, and it just brings the ending down a little bit for me. Apart from that, I think it suffers the usual problems that most superhero films suffer from nowadays, and that is that the action sequences are shot horrendously. Some of these cuts are so fast that they almost feel nauseating. I'm losing track of things happening on screen here, and I definitely prefer the parts of this movie that don't focus on as much action as they do with characters. Other little things that I liked, I thought the flashback sequences in general were nice. It was cool seeing this origin and how it differed from Clark, because that was a pretty substantial question that I had to begin with. Speaking of, I also liked Clark here. I think his chemistry with Millie in the scenes that they have is believable, and I could buy them as cousins, and I continue to enjoy David Cornswet as the character. The score is pretty great too. In particular, one piece of music that comes to mind is in the flashback sequences when she's leaving Krypton. I don't know what it is about it, but it gave me chills. Music selection is fun overall. I think a lot of it works and some of it doesn't, but dear god, can we stop with the awful bickering about the needle drop? You can like it, you can hate it. Both of these ideals and those perspectives can coexist, but it undeniably works in the sense that it's being shown from Ruthie's point of view. I'm sick of people saying I don't get why they did this, because it makes perfect sense. The style of song, you may not like it, but it does work. If anything, the biggest problem with it is that halfway through the sequence it begins to feel as though they edited this with a different song in the timeline. Some of the sequences and shot changes don't line up in the way that they did in the first half of the song. It's as if they mapped it editing wise with 15 seconds of this thing, but then rolled with 45. All in all, I know this video has been short, but this is more of a defense of the movie upon a first watch, because I genuinely believe there's an unfair line of punches being thrown at it. I'll probably have a video essay up on it later down the line with some other DC stuff that I have planned, but until then, yeah, I enjoyed Supergirl. Is it flawed? Yeah. Could it have been better? Yeah. But does that take away from my experience? No. Should you be discouraged from seeing this thing because of reviews like these? No, especially not this one. But should you go out there and see it based off what I'm saying? Also no, go and see it and make your own mind up. If you dislike it, then you dislike it, but there's no credibility in not watching something because someone on the internet told you not to. Film opinion is this incredible thing, and you have one, so go and fucking make it, and stay super. Fuck, I'm not doing that one again.